So where we're at is that this gun and this mechanism sit in the stern of this boat. Now you can tell straight away that this fits into this slot, none of this does. So I'm working on this now to get it all correct, and then I'm going to connect everything to this, and I'm going to fasten this up to the two little screws that I hope you can see, because they were the very first things that I made in relation to this to lock this into place. And then I've worked around all of this. I'm going to get all of this working, then I'm going to take it apart and glue this permanently into the deck, and it's going to really then be quite strong, but I've got to make sure first that it's okay. What I have done here is I have been just putting some perspex on the sides because I want to build its vertical strength, because it pushes down on the servo at the bottom, and that's the strength of it. I've used acrylic glue to glue all of these parts together. I'm just about to take these screws out because they're useless. I'm going to grind all of this up to make it look a bit prettier, and we're going to start assembling it. Alright, that's all cleaned up now, and I'm now going to glue this piece in. This is the piece that I cut out of this top originally, and it's just going to strengthen the ABS piece that holds all of the bits and pieces, the equipment. So I'll glue that on just with some super glue. Now the next thing that I must do is actually to glue this into place above here, because we have this little contraption here with a screw, whoops, that screws into that piece. But this can come away at any time, but this one is going to lock this in place, and part of doing this is going to mean putting the gun in as well. So I'll start doing that now. Okay, so I've now mounted this on. I want that to be able to turn freely, and it does. It turns very freely. But now I'm going to put some super glue into the top of that spigot, so this will not be coming off. If any adjustment needs to be done, it can be done by sliding it up and down on this. So this is now done, it's in place. That's not going to be moving again. That's nice and loose, that's lovely. So I'm now going to fit this back in. And screw it in place. Alright, so now this needs to go in place, and this is where everything actually fastens to, is this little piece of equipment just here. And this fastens under it, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. That's it, that's on. Now run this along and slide this now there. That's it. That's now neatly in place. That's lovely. So I'm going to screw that on. And I'm going to screw that on. These are going to need to be adjusted once we hit the power, but all of the adjustments will take place in those two little strips. Okay, now we remove it once again. So that's all now nicely fastened underneath, and now we want to put on our turning servo. This turning servo is a 180-degree servo. This is an ordinary servo. So now we see how it all goes. That is now in. It's now connected in. So I'm going to screw this into place again and connect this up to the power and adjust the positioning of this machine. When I've done that, see the next stage. Okay, I'll put it together. That's it. That turns nicely. This is a little bit loose on the end. So what I'm going to do is release this a little bit and push it down. Then screw that on. So as you can see, this bottom servo is just held in place by the action of this pushing down onto it, and it's jammed in between all of this. That's completely fine. So I'm going to test this now, but I'm pretty happy with all of that. It all works, or looks like it's going to work really well. Nothing better to do though than test it. So this is the mesh that's going to go into the boat. We've got the receiver, the Arduino, the compass. I've got 3 servos per bank for elevating and turning, and I've got here the rudder. So all I need to do is turn on my controller, turn this on. Now the only ones that I've got working are these 2. Whoops, and it's this knob here. And this knob here. And this is the rudder. So I've got to write the code for everything else. Notice how that's got this fantastic turn. And that's because it's the one that goes in the bottom of all of those. So I'm going to connect these 2 up to my gun. Alright, so I've been playing with the transmitter primarily, and what I've got this doing now is turning to the full width of 180 by putting it on 120. If you used to transmitters, you know what that means, but it means that that's nothing to do with this. I've adjusted the elevation a little bit, but I've also adjusted the transmitter elevation so that it only runs within those boundaries. So that's lovely, lovely, lovely. I'm really happy with that. This is the power one in place. That looks pretty good. Stern structure in place. Alright, this is it. Now finally put in place. I've adjusted everything out, and this is the propeller, and I'm now using the radio control. So we have very nice turning, elevation, lovely. That is magnificent.